It's Monday night, September 12th, 2022, episode 304 of the Tan and J-Man Show, recording live on the ISC Sports Network, as well as the Tan and J-Man Show Facebook page. If you're listening, thanks for listening out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, wherever you might be listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give us that 5-star rating and review. We really appreciate it. With all that said, how is my co-host Josh the J-Man Mutt on this chilly, at least in Indiana, cloudy, rainy, overcast Monday?
Yeah, it definitely feels like football season today, for sure. For about the first time so far in the first couple weeks of college football anyway. But yeah, I don't even know if it reached 60 degrees here today. It was you can go from 85 degrees to 60, and it feels like winter.
Yeah, it was chilly today. I like to eat outside usually when I'm home for lunch, and had to grab a jacket today to eat outside. Yeah. So it's September 12th, and it's like you said, it is. Let's see, right now it's right around 60 degrees. So
yeah, actually, I was looking forward to this weather, and then it gets here. I'm like, it's a little chilly.
I still love fall weather, but it's always a shock to the system once it comes. So
that's for sure. And now the rest of the week, it's supposed to be, at least here anyway, about 80 every day. So bounce back up.
Yeah, it's Midwest weather. You never know what you're gonna get. But
that's right.
Man, I love football season.
Oh, me too. This is the most I've anticipated an NFL season in years. A lot of it has to do with my baseball team sucking. Actually having somewhat expectations for my NFL team now. Pretty pumped heading into yesterday.
Well, we saw some big upsets, I would say, in NFL. Definitely some big upsets in college football that we'll get to talking to in a little bit. I think September 10th, 2022 in college football is going to go down as Sun Belt Saturday.
Sun Belt Saturday.
That's what I'm calling it, at least. So.
Sure.
I saw if you put a $100 three-way money line bet on Marshall, Georgia Southern, and Appalachian State, you would have won $115,000.
$115,000. Can't imagine anyone would even think to do that.
I know,
but that would have been nice. Nice little cash out,
man. But we'll talk about those games more in detail here in a bit.
I have some birdie bogey for you here.
Oh, big NFL, one. I'm two down.
NFL related. There's two questions I'm choosing from. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins question, actually. That I saw on Twitter a few days ago. Tyreek Hill only needs 7 touchdowns to join what wide receiver as the only wide receiver in NFL history with at least 7 touchdowns in each of their first 7 seasons? Tyreek Hill needs 7 touchdowns to join what other wide receiver is the only wide receiver in NFL history with at least 7 touchdowns in each of his first 7 seasons? The other question, you might have seen this, but you can answer it right now. Josh Allen has 7 games in NFL history with 3+ pass touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, which is 3rd all-time already in 61 starts. Who has the most such games in NFL history?
Three. You said 3+ passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown?
Yep, and at least 1 rushing touchdown.
I did not see this. I'm taking a shot in the dark just because this guy ran for a lot of them. Randall Cunningham?
Drew Brees.
Would never guess that. Would have never guessed that.
Has had 9 such games of that.
Yeah, I would not guess that.
Tom Brady's second all-time with 8.
I don't think of those guys as rushing, but, Drew did like to do the jump and put it over the goal line, and Brady likes that 1-yard QB sneak, so makes sense, I guess. That was a good one. That would have been a good one because I would have got a bogey.
Brees has 9 in 286 starts, Brady 8 in 316, and Josh Allen 7. Allen will probably do it this year, I'd imagine.
He was something else Thursday nights. He was pretty good.
Yeah, he even with a couple interceptions, he's still 31 points against a great defense. Just another elite quarterback in the AFC East.
Fun for you.
Yep, story of my life.
I mean, my team could have drafted him, but everybody and their mother was afraid they were going to draft him, and were pleading Elway not to, and he drafted Bradley Chubb, which I like Bradley Chubb, but looking back, he's no Josh Allen.
No, I don't think anyone in that draft is, to be honest.
No.
But yeah, I remember that draft. You definitely didn't want Josh Allen. A lot of people were scared just because he didn't have a great last year at Wyoming. He had opportunities against teams like Iowa, I remember, and he just didn't play that well. So Bills mainly drafted based off of tools. He's big, athletic, strong arm, and they obviously put the right coach and coaching staff around him. Sean McDermott, is that his name?
Yeah.
In Buffalo, he did great things with, I believe he was in Carolina with Cam Newton. And there's some similarities there for sure between Allen and Newton. And he has turned Josh Allen into an MVP candidate, much to my chagrin.
Yep, and yeah, like you said, fun for you. But the Bills are a fun team to watch. They looked pretty good Thursday night. So our Super Bowl predictions are looking good for 1 week at least.
That's right. They are. I already forget who I picked. Buffalo and Tampa Bay.
Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and I picked Buffalo and Green Bay, which isn't looking so hot after 1 week, but a lot of season left to be played.
Not looking so hot.
A lot of season left to be played.
Yeah, they did this last year, week 1.
Yep.
Who did Green Bay lose to last year, week 1? They got absolutely murdered.
I don't know.
I don't remember, but they looked awful doing it. And now I think it was Tampa Bay, wasn't it? I don't remember.
But who's Birdie or Bogey brought to you by, J-Man?
Birdie Brody brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. Get your veggies!
Yes, sir. It's not too late. Really, all seasons are veggie seasons for those that love to eat vegetables. So
that is true. That is very true. What do you want to start with tonight?
Doesn't matter to me. You pick.
Let's talk some college football. How about that?
All right.
As you said, Sun Belt Saturday.
Sun Belt Saturday.
We saw App State. They're in the Sun Belt, right?
Yeah.
Go into Texas A&M and beat number. What were they? 6 at the time.
Sixth ranked Aggies. Yep.
Marshall's in the Sun Belt.
Yep. They went into number 8 Notre Dame and knocked them off, and then Georgia Southern went into good old what was Scott Frostville in Lincoln and knocked off the Cornhuskers and cost Scott Frost his job. Nebraska decided that we'll pay the extra $7.5 million on yesterday and let him go.
That's insane because they could have waited till October 1st, just 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks, and let him go then. But you could kind of see it coming.
It wasn't going to work.
Georgia Southern. Yep. Losing to Georgia Southern. You could see it after the Northwestern game that it probably wasn't going to work. Didn't play that good in week 2 either against, was it North Dakota or something like that?
Right.
And then giving up 45 points to Georgia Southern and losing at home. Not going to work. Frosty, 16-31, I think is what his final record was.
Yep. He's got to get paid close to a total of $40 million, but when it's all said and done, for 16 wins. Good gig if you can get it.
Yeah, Lovie Smith had more wins at Illinois than Scott Frost did at Nebraska.
And, I was watching that game, and Nebraska's offense did what it needed to do, but their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, you've heard him complaining about all of the last second losses, losing by one score, all of that, but you got to make your own luck sometimes. It's cliche to say, but that's a lot of coaching stuff. We saw in week 1 where they decided to kick an onside kick up 11 in the third quarter, and that comes back to bite them in the butt. Giving up 45 points to Georgia Southern, they clearly weren't prepared. That's just the God's honest truth. They weren't prepared for Georgia Southern's offense, which is pretty pathetic to even say.
I'm looking at last week's confidence points. Let's see here. I had Nebraska but I only put them for 5. I believe you had them for 11 or something like that. 12. Was it 12? Because I remember we were talking about this, and I said Georgia Southern has beat Florida in the past.
Yep, that one backfired for me.
Is that the Wisconsin I had for 4.
I had Wisconsin for 7, so I think
I had Northwestern for 3.
Pick 'em.
Yep.
I had Northwestern for 3, and I had Iowa for 2. So I think
I had Iowa for 1. Yeah, I think I got you.
You got me in Big Ten. Pick 'em.
Yep. But not NFL pick 'em, but we'll get to that in a bit. But going back to Sunbelt Saturday, yeah, Frost lost his job. Nebraska is now off to a miserable start with OU coming to town this weekend. It's not going to get any better. Did you see their interim head coach is not only their first African-American head coach for football, but the first African-American head coach out of all their sports in their university. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy in 2022.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not something to hold your hat on.
No, not at all.
At all.
No.
But yeah, he did he play for Nebraska as well?
I am not sure.
I want to say he did. I could be wrong though. But yeah, I mean, they hired one former Nebraska football player, and it didn't go very well for him. I've seen decent amount of candidates out there. It seems like every single head coach in college football is a candidate at this point for the Nebraska job. Once again, Nebraska and their fans think they are so much higher thought of as far as like this blue blood, if you will, in college football than they are. They've only been to, I think it's, 5 bowl games? Well, for the past however many years. I just saw this stat and I wish I would have favorited it. But they haven't been to many bowl games, haven't won a conference championship since 2001, I believe. They haven't been nationally relevant in that long as well. So once again, these fans think they can go out and get an elite head coaching candidate. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think they'll get somebody pretty good. I don't know if you consider these guys elite. I don't think they'll go the non-Power 5 option again, though. That backfired. I think they're going to have to go and try to get somebody from Power 5 school.
Yes.
I think watch for Mark Stoops in Kentucky. Watch for him.
Is Nebraska a better job than Kentucky at this point?
Well, Stoops has made Kentucky do a pretty good job, but no matter what you do, Kentucky's a basketball school at the end of the day.
That's
no
fair.
Matter what you do. Nebraska's always going to be a football school. And I don't know what kind of facilities Kentucky has. I know they have a lot of booster money, but Nebraska got some of the top facilities for football in the country. So
that's fair.
And Big Ten money.
The allure in the Big Ten money now, the allure of coaching in the SEC is a thing. However, it's, as you say, it's at Kentucky. It's a basketball school. You're never going to be able to compete with the Alabamas and Georgias of the world. They're a different
everybody else
level.
right now they can, though.
Yeah, every other person or every other team, they absolutely can in the SEC. They're never going to be at that top. But as of right now, I'd say Kentucky's a better job. And if I'm Stoops, you built Kentucky up from the ground. I mean, they were almost Kansas level of football back before Stoops took over. And then Stoops takes over and he turns them into a really respectable football program. Does he want to jump ship after building a successful program at a school that hadn't had a successful football program ever?
Yeah, that's a good question. Matt Campbell's one getting thrown out there, and Iowa State did beat Iowa, but I think that would make sense, and that's a better job than Iowa State.
I agree. Nebraska's interim head coach, Mickey Joseph, played quarterback at Nebraska 88 through 91. So
okay, there we go.
He is a former player. One interesting one that is mentioned is Lance Leipold, who is not a big, sexy name, if you will. He won a ton of D3 national championships at Wisconsin Whitewater, took over Buffalo, built them up to a MAC champion, which they were a terrible football program. And now in his second year at Kansas, they just went into West Virginia and beat them yesterday at Kansas. He's doing
at West Virginia, you mean?
Yeah, that's I said.
Oh, you're saying at Kansas. I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah.
At Kansas, he's actually building up a program. They could maybe reach out to him. people have compared him to Mike Riley a little bit, which they probably don't want to do that again.
Yeah, that didn't go over well.
But Leopold's clearly a really good football coach. Not going to be a sexy name. Fans would probably hate it. But he's a guy that's a proven program builder.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. Interesting. Let's keep it in the Sun Belt for a second. Let's talk about the Marshall Thundering Herd. Going into South Bend, 20-point underdogs, coming out with a win that actually ended up being closer than probably should have, thanks to a garbage time touchdown by the Irish. Tyler Beckner, Irish quarterback, ends up with an AC sprain, out 4 months, so he's out for the season. So now Notre Dame's got to go to a backup quarterback, sitting here at 0-2. Marcus Freeman's the first Notre Dame coach in history to be 0-3. Now, that bowl game, I'm sure the alumni are like, whatever, the bowl game. Even last 2 weeks ago against Ohio State, we didn't get killed, all right. But when Marshall comes in, you're paying him about $1.25 million, I believe it was, or maybe $1.5 million to come in, and you get beat. That's cause for concern. And now you're thinking, are they going to be patient with Marcus? Because like I've been saying on the podcast for weeks now, and I don't like Brian Kelly either, it's fun to rag on the guy, but be careful what you wish for, because Kelly won 9 to 10 games consistently. Now Freeman, and I know it's not the same team as last year, but this team was ranked number 5 2 weeks ago. Now they're not in the top 25.
And they shouldn't be in the top 25. 0-2, losing at Ohio State, whatever. Losing to Marshall at home after playing horrendous offensively against Ohio State, and they carried it over against Marshall. Buckner threw a terrible pick 6 that pretty much ended the game at the end, and now he's hurt. Wasn't playing good football anyway. Maybe this backup could give him a little bit of a spark, but haven't seen it from Notre Dame. New coaching staff. He's 0-3 now in his career, Marcus Freeman is, and Notre Dame's lost each of their last 2 bye games. They lost to Cincinnati, which they paid them $1.2 million. I think this one was 1.5 and lost them both. I can't imagine Freeman would be a 1-year casualty, but who knows if they continue, if they ended up 4-8 or something like that, which at this point, it's not inconceivable it could happen.
Well, here's what I want to ask you, and I know we're only 2 games in, but on September 12th, looking at their schedule, do you think Notre Dame makes a bowl?
It gets increasingly difficult, especially after seeing them lose to Marshall. That's the thing.
Marshall's not even ahead of the Sun Belt.
No,
that's App State.
Looking at Notre Dame's schedule here real quick, I'm going to pull it up on my phone.
Get the Cal Golden Bears this weekend, but led by Cactus Jack Plummer.
Jack Plummer starts for Cal.
He doesn't. He's not. They haven't played anybody, but he's not having a bad year so far.
And then I know they have USC as always, and they have Stanford as well, I believe.
BYU's coming up in 2 weeks. BYU just beat Baylor. That's a neutral game out in Vegas.
They have at North Carolina the 24th.
That was a game I predicted them to lose, but Carolina can't stop a nosebleed either. So
at Syracuse, who's the first 2 weeks has looked much better than usual.
We'll get into that here in a bit.
Notre Dame's not losing or not beating Clemson. USC's ranked 7th.
They're looking pretty good so far.
I will go on record and say, at most, their ceiling as of right now is 6-6. So I think they can they have to beat Cal this week, though. Have to.
Yeah. Oh, if they they lose the Cal, they might not get a win until UNLV.
Yeah. I don't know how good Stanford is.
Stanford got smacked by USC, but
yeah, I don't see them winning on the road at North Carolina or at BYU. Yeah, I think this is almost, in my opinion, a must-win for Notre Dame. It's hard to even say that. It could just be a week 2 overreaction. But when you lose at home to Marshall, you're due for some overreactions for sure.
And I will say Lou Holtz started off 1-4, Brian Kelly 1-3. So this stuff can happen, but those guys were experienced head coaches already. That's the difference. Marcus Freeman's never been a head coach until this position. And and like I said, we might look back on this and maybe we're just overreacting, but it's got to come across my mind. Is he just better suited to be a great defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Or at least be a head coach somewhere else that's not one of the most prestigious programs in the country.
That's the thing. You almost wonder, did they promote him just to keep him? because they were scared of losing him somewhere else.
I think that's a big part of it, because if they didn't promote him, I think he was gone.
He wasn't going to stick around and be defensive coordinator.
Might have went back to Ohio State.
Maybe that's why they could give him a little more leeway because of that, knowing it's his first head coaching position. He's learning on the job how to manage a roster full of 85, 18 to 22-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And he did retain. I think Tommy Rees is still there, correct?
Yes, he is. Offensive coordinator. Who he's getting ripped to shreds right now. 2 weeks into the season.
His offense has looked terrible so far. But Notre Dame fans will overreact because they've been used to winning and competing for a playoff spot here the past 5 or 6 years. So they're not going to be patient, but I think you should be patient because by all intents and purposes and by all accounts, he is one of the rising head coaching candidates. At least he was when he was a defensive coordinator. And 2-3 games shouldn't affect that. Although in the minds of fans, it does. So it will be interesting, as I said, if they go 4-8 or something, what they do. I think they'd keep him around, but who knows?
Yeah, it was interesting today. I got on WNDU's Facebook to see what people are saying, and a lot of "what's the matter? Season's already over" comments. Yeah. Typical. Once you paint Notre Dame out of the playoff picture for a lot of their fans, they don't care as much. They might watch, but if they happen to miss a game, so be it, or whatever. Whereas 2 weeks ago for Ohio State, I swear my Snapchat, all it was people I didn't even know really liked football. Oh, we're back. It's Irish season. Everybody was pumped up. And 2 weeks later, now they're ready for the season to be done. Now it's Colts season or Bears season or whatever you might have it.
IU basketball's here in the next 2 months.
Oh, those jackets came out today on this brisk, chilly day. Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that
reverse it over a little
jerseys, bit. They turned it inside out and showed the red and the crimson and white.
Well, we've talked about 2 Sun Belt teams. Let's cover the other one. App State going into Kyle Field down there and Aggie Land and upset. When's Jimbo's Fisher see get a little hot down there, Jay? Man, they're paying him $75 million, and he's not any better than Kevin Sumlin record-wise.
They routinely bring in the number 1 recruiting class in college football too. Each of the past 2 years, I believe. Mm-hmm. You can't be losing to App State in year 4, just like you can't lose to Georgia Southern in year 4 at Nebraska. App State is a fantastic group of 6 team. I will say that. If you can even call them the group of 6, because they might even be a low major. But they did this when they were in the FCS too. Still, can't lose. You have number 1 recruiting class in college football. Your head coach is making an insane amount of money. Can't be losing to App State, and I would think the heat's on them a little bit.
I mean, their players, there's a cringe-worthy video that came out today. Of course, they always do their pep rallies the night before. The player that was leading the pep rally was making fun of App State, calling their players hillbillies, saying only half of their guys can read the name on their jerseys and all this stuff. And then you get beat. Makes it even worse. Pretty embarrassing look for A&M, who was ranked number 6 in the country.
Very.
Which they're still ranked. They're ranked 24th now.
But offense shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be. Well, and Jimbo's running the same offense he ran back in 2014 when he was at Florida State. He doesn't make adjustments. Doesn't make adjustments.
It also helped back then when you had the Heisman Trophy winner and number 1 overall pick Jameis Winston on your roster.
100%.
I don't think he has that.
No, but I mean, he's got great recruits, like you said. But shout out to App State coach Sean Clark. He was the offensive line coach when I was a manager under Danny Hope, and I would have never guessed he would have been the position coach to go be a successful head coach. But good for him. Good for him. Yeah. I'd like to see him doing well. So, Sun Belt Saturday, never forget.
Sun Belt Saturday, nothing better. Some Sun Belt football.
I forgot Marshall was even in the Sun Belt until
they were Saturday. Conference USA forever.
Yes.
Was it Conference USA?
Yes, it was. Yep.
You want to go through and pick some Big Ten football?
Yeah, let's do that.
Starting with UConn at Michigan.
I believe we only have 13 matchups this week, right?
We do.
This is my 13-pointer. Michigan for 13. They smacked Hawaii, even though Hawaii covered. UConn still, even with Jim Moore Jr., they're abysmal as ever. Michigan's got to kill them.
Yeah. UConn was hanging tough with, I think, was it Utah State the first week. They were winning, and then they ended up losing. I don't remember who they were playing. But, yeah, UConn, it's getting to the point where they really need to consider dropping to the FCS level for football. And I'm not even joking about that. I think it's actually been talked about.
Aren't they independent now, right now? So
yep, they're independent now. UConn does have a win, but they lost to Utah State, beat Central Connecticut State, got killed by Syracuse. Mm-hmm. Michigan's 46.5-point favorites, and I think they cover. Michigan for 13.
Yep.
Oklahoma at Nebraska.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what kind of motions going to be going through Nebraska players. Interim head coach. This is a tough first opponent to go against an Oklahoma Sooners who are 2-0 and looking pretty good doing it. Give me Oklahoma, but I did only put 7 on this game.
Oklahoma's 11.5-point favorites. I think Nebraska will come out fired up, hearing all the talk about how terrible their program is now. I'm taking Oklahoma, but I only have 8 on them, which I guess 8's a lot, but not as much I think as some would think I'd put on them. Southern Illinois at Northwestern.
Northwestern coming off a loss to Duke 2 years in a row. The Dukies have got Northwestern. Northwestern is one of those teams that's already hard to figure out. I think they bounce back against an FCS opponent, though. Give me the Wildcats for 8.
Yeah, Northwestern's loss to Duke last week makes Nebraska's loss to Northwestern look even worse. Mm-hmm. I don't think Northwestern's very good at all, but they should handle the Salukis pretty easily. I have Northwestern for 10. Purdue Boilermakers coming off a shellacking of Indiana State travel to the Carrier Dome to play Syracuse.
It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. Got rebranded this year. It's like J&M Wireless or something like that.
Nothing sacred, I tell you.
Nope. This is a pick'em game on DraftKings. I checked that this afternoon. It is a pick'em game. I am a lot more nervous about this game than I was 2 weeks ago before the season started, just because Syracuse thumped Louisville, and I was like, all right, maybe Louisville's real bad, but Louisville turned around and won at UCF the other night and looked decent doing so. Then Syracuse thumped UConn, so can't put too much stock into that, but they got a great running back. Defensive, their corners are pretty good, but their running backs, their strength of their team. I'm taking Purdue, but only for 4.
I'm taking the Boilers as well. I think they play pretty well, but I only am for 2 because there's a lot of there's a lot of blowout potential here in the final games here.
Well, it's a road game. It's indoors. Yep. Crazy things can happen.
Yeah, it's a noon Eastern road game, which those are always tough to get up for anyway. I think Purdue's quite a bit better.
Last time the Boilers played Syracuse was back in 2004 on a season opener. It was on Sunday of Labor Day weekend. Purdue won 51-0. So maybe Syracuse fans want revenge from
maybe
years and years ago.
I think Purdue should handle them.
I hope so.
Western Kentucky at Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana survived a little bit of a scare from the Idaho Vandals. The Vandals were up 10-0 at half, but Indiana scored 23 unanswered in the third quarter to take the lead and end up hanging on at the end. Win they had to have if they want to go bowling. I think this is still a win they have to have if they want to go bowling because the early part of their Big Ten schedule is pretty tough. I have Indiana, but for 6.
I'm taking Western Kentucky for 1. I think IU's the worst team in the Big Ten. I think even though they beat Illinois, I think IU's worse. Illinois should have won that game pretty handily, and they just found a way to not do that. But I think Western Kentucky gets it done for whatever reason.
The Toppers are 2-0.
They are. They can put up some points. Rutgers at Temple.
It was a tough one for me. I'm taking Rutgers for 3.
I'm taking Rutgers for 4. They're playing some pretty good football. Graciano knows what he's doing.
I mean, they played Wagner. I don't know how much stock you put in Wagner, but in week 1 they beat Boston College. Boston College lost to somebody this weekend, and I was listening to a podcast today that's called Boston College, one of the most disappointing teams in the country right now.
Really?
Because they thought they'd be much improved in their head coach's first year. Nope.
Penn State traveling to Jordan-Hare Stadium at Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn's coach. Their fans wanted to get him out so fast. Penn State looked good against Ohio. I'm taking the Nittany Lions on the road for 1.
I'm taking Auburn for 5. I think it's going to be raucous there. Do you know Bo Nix is no longer at Auburn?
He's at Oregon.
He is the starting quarterback at Oregon. No wonder Oregon's sucking.
Yeah, he's not very good.
Bo Nix has been a bust since that first game of his career. It was the night game, I remember, on a Saturday. Was it a Saturday night? Forget who
Texas
they were playing, but they won. Yes,
played at Austin, didn't they? He went over there and won.
Yes, Bo Nix looked awesome. It was downhill ever since. Give me Auburn for 5, though. Colorado, who is, I believe, winless at Minnesota.
They got beat 40-something to 10 against Air Force over the weekend, if that tells you anything. Give me Minnesota for 12. Colorado's awful.
I have Minnesota for 9.
And Minnesota's playing good ball, and they're playing good ball.
They are. They might be the best team in the West right now.
They probably are. They've played Western Illinois and New Mexico State, so the sample size isn't great. But hey, you got to beat who you play, and they're killing people. So I
was gonna say they're the only ones without a loss so far.
They've played the weakest schedule, but
State,
yeah,
gotta beat them.
I know.
New Mexico State at Wisconsin.
I was just talking about New Mexico State. They're awful. Wisconsin coming off a bad home loss to Washington State. I got the Badgers for 11, but Graham Mertz got to start playing better.
Yeah, he's not a good quarterback. I have Wisconsin for 11 as well. New Mexico State's terrible. Toledo at Ohio State.
Little in-state, one of the smaller schools against the big boy, but Ohio State keeps on rolling. Give me the Buckeyes for 10.
I have Ohio State for 12. Michigan State at Washington.
Michigan State's up to, I think, top 10 now. I think they're 10th in the AP. Give me Penix and Washington for 2.
Michigan State is 11.
Okay.
I'm taking Washington as well. Washington's 3-point favorites. Forgot Michael Penix was there. Give me Washington for 3.
That's a tough game to travel out there, a late night start. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a 6:30. It's the ABC game. It'll be a tough one. Nevada at the worst offense in college football, Iowa.
Iowa's got 16 punts on the season compared to their 14 points. I think they bounce back and win this one. Give me Iowa for 9.
I have Iowa for 7. If they don't, though, and that offense only puts up 1 touchdown again, they got to try something different at quarterback or somewhere, because they're not going to win a whole lot of games having that putrid of an offense.
I think they're a little worried about Charlie Jones.
At Maryland. Charlie Sizzle.
I'm sure they wish they had him. But SMU at Maryland, give me the Terps for 5.
I have Maryland for 6. Talia Tagovailoa is playing some really good football right now. Let's see. You want to pick some top 25 games here real quick?
Sure.
Some decent matchups this week. We have number 12 BYU traveling to Oregon.
I'm going to roll with the Cougs again. They got it done against Baylor. Give me the hot hand.
Oregon is 3.5-point favorites. Give me the road team, though. Give me BYU. I don't like Bo Nix out there. Texas Tech, unranked, traveling to NC State, number 16 NC State. Both teams 2-0.
Texas Tech took down Houston, number 25 Houston, over the weekend in a good game. NC State survived a scare week 1 against East Carolina. Give me NC State.
NC State's 10.5-point favorites. I'm taking NC State as well. Let's see here. My Canes travel to Texas A&M, 13 against 24.
Man, this is a tough one to predict because Texas A&M is going to be fired up, and losing 2 would just be horrific for them before starting the SEC. I've done a lot of ripping on A&M, but give me the Aggies in a bounce back.
A&M's 5.5-point favorites. Give me the U. Give me my Canes. Get it done on the road. That seat for Jimbo gets a little warmer.
Yeah.
Little warmer. So, any other
Notre Dame and Cal. Notre Dame and Cal.
Give me Notre Dame. I think they bounce back.
They got to, right?
Have to. Yeah.
Yeah, give me Notre Dame as well.
Have to bounce back.
Yep.
Do you want to get educated real quick?
Yes, sir.
On this day in not a great on this day this week. Who won the U.S. No, yeah, U.S. Open men's tennis on this day in 1971?
I don't even know if he played back that McEnroe.
Stan Smith.
Okay.
Jimmy Connors won on this day in 1976. I've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
On this day in 1984, New York Met Doc Gooden sets rookie strikeout record of 251 batters. It's got to still be the record. Old Doc, if he didn't have some drug issues, he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame. On this day in 1987, Vince Coleman stole his 100th base for the third straight year.
So that's a good skill.
It's pretty fast. Yeah, speed. You can't teach speed. Trust me, they tried on me. On this day in 1993, who won the U.S. Open men's tennis?
I want to say Sampras or Agassi. Let's go Andre Agassi.
Pete Sampras. You had it right the first time. Who won in 99?
Let's go Agassi.
It was Agassi that time. What about 04?
04? Who was good in 04? I'm going to take a stab. Was that the year Andy Roddick got one?
Roger Federer.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good one.
Yeah. That'd been a young Federer.
In 2004, the Detroit Lions beat the Chicago Bears 20-16 at Soldier Field to snap their NFL record 24-game road losing streak.
They were pretty bad. Still are bad.
Who won the U.S. Open men's tennis on this day in 2011?
I think Federer would be too easy. Let's go Nadal for this one.
Djokovic beats Nadal.
I knew it was one of three. I mean, let's be honest.
That was Novak's first U.S. title.
Huh?
It's a pretty big one on this day. That's going to do it for on this day.
How did I get stuck with all those stinking tennis questions? But the On This Day segment is brought to you by, like it is every week, Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated custom woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs. From signs to growth charts, their custom pieces make a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. To see some of their recently completed projects, visit them on Instagram or on Facebook at Mooney Woodcrafts. And for orders, contact them at mooneywoodcrafts@gmail.com. Well, before we get into NFL talk, let's go ahead and get word association out of the way. It's NFL related. It's Miami Dolphin related. It's just a Dolphin show today, being Birdie or Bogey. And I'm sure you got some thoughts. I went back with some Dolphin starting quarterbacks. Maybe we've done this list before, but I don't know. Starting with their current one, Tua.
Tua, big year for him. Had a good day yesterday. First thing I can think of, lefty. He's a lefty.
Good old Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fitz magic. He had some magical moments back in the 2020 season for sure. Coming in, miracle win against the Vegas Raiders to somehow keep them alive in the playoff race. Benched because guys were calling for Tua. Handled it like a pro. Felt bad for him last year because the Commanders, or they were the football team last year. Mm-hmm. They were his team, and he got hurt week 1.
Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill had much better success when he left Miami and Adam Gase than he did with the Dolphins. So he's made a lot of money for being just a okay quarterback.
Jay Cutler.
Don't care.
Knew that was coming. Brock Osweiler.
Oh boy. Tall.
Yeah.
6'8". Just blech.
Yep. Still think he committed a career suicide when he left Denver originally, when he took the money to Houston when he hadn't even visited him. Matt Moore.
Mm-hmm. He was a gamer, man. He took over when Tannehill tore his ACL in 2016 and led him to the playoffs. Had a really good stretch of games against Buffalo and forget who else they played.
The Jets.
The Jets, yeah. Had really good stretch of games with them. Led him to the playoffs that year. Always liked him.
Chad Henne.
Good backup, strong arm. I think he's still hanging around with Kansas City, too. Yeah, he's a good backup. Shouldn't have been a starter, but the Dolphins were declaring him the one.
Chad Pennington.
Terrible arm strength. Somehow worse arm strength than Tua has. He was a winner, though. Didn't turn the ball over. Led the Dolphins to the playoffs in 2008. Had a good year. One good year with him.
Trent Green.
Don't know how many starts he made, but he had a terrible head injury because honestly, it was his fault. He went low on a defensive lineman trying to cut his legs out from under him. So he kind of got what he deserved, took a knee right to the head, and it knocked him out. That dude had some gruesome injuries in his career, for sure.
Cleo Lemon.
I was at one of his career starts. It might have been his only career starts.
I think he started 4 games, it said. So
4 games, man. That's how bad the Dolphins were that year. I don't even remember. But I was at one of them. Brutal. Just bad quarterback.
He might have been better than this guy. John Beck.
Oh, Johnny Beck, man. 2nd round pick. Thought he was going to be really good at BYU. He was old. He was an older guy. I don't think he was as old as Brandon Weeden, but he was an older guy. Started 1, maybe 2 games with the Dolphins. I remember one game he started. It was a Monday night game against Pittsburgh. It was pouring down rain. They put in brand new field turf. The final score was 3-0. It was that infamous Brandon Fields punt that went up and just stuck right in the turf. Didn't bounce or anything because it was so muddy. Beck started that game. They didn't score any points, but Pittsburgh only scored 3. But that's about the lasting memory I have of John Beck.
Dante Culpepper.
Bust. Nick Saban, once again, this should be part of his legacy, his miserable time in Miami where he chose Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees. People don't talk about that like they should, though.
3 more. Joey Harrington.
He was a colossal bust out of Oregon. 3rd overall pick by the Lions. Bad with the Lions. He was okay with the Dolphins. I think the one game I remember, he had a really good game on Thanksgiving against the Lions when he was with the Dolphins and they won. But other than that, it was for the most part terrible.
Gus Frerotte.
He was started there, I believe, 1 year, and they had an okay year. Won 9 games. Didn't do anything spectacular. He's more known when he was with the then Washington Redskins of headbutting the sideline after scoring a touchdown, or right behind the end zone after scoring a touchdown and giving himself a concussion.
Yeah, he started a game or 2 for the Broncos post Elway.
He started for about everyone. He was kind of that era's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And lastly, Jay Fiedler.
Jay Fiedler, man, if the Dolphins would have just had a competent quarterback in the early 2000s, they might have won a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, that guy was Jay Fiedler. Those defenses were great. The fact that they routinely won 10, 11 games with Jay Fiedler at quarterback showed you how good their defense was with Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor and Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain Sr., Brock Marion at safety. I loved those teams. Quarterback play was horrendous, though.
Dartmouth's own. And that's going to do it for the word association segment, which is brought to you by Performer Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Performer Print 2 Promo Group has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815.
This episode is brought to you by The Dam Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-bread tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, Dam Landing is the place to be. The Dam Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou. Focuses on freshness and quality. You can wash down their delicious food. It's one of their 16 beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best microbrews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Taking the fantastic views of Lake Manitou and their beer garden or outdoor bar area. Whether it be boats or wheels, the Dam Landing is the place to be, located 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. 3 winners, 3 losers. We're back.
Yeah, fun NFL Week 1 so far. Tonight's game might dictate what I call fun and not fun. But one of my 3 winners has to be the Buffalo Bills. Thursday night, you go up on the road against the defending champs and lay down 31 and only give up 10 points. Very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Stupid impressive. One of my winners is Kansas City Chiefs going into Arizona against a team that is a playoff contender for sure, maybe even a division.
They're pretty banged up right now, but
and Mahomes, they are. But the Chiefs go in there. Mahomes throws 5 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had a huge game. Just looked like the same old Chiefs, even without Tyreek Hill.
It's fun. Yep. Another one of my winners is your Miami Dolphins. Took care of the Patriots. They swept the Patriots last year. Took care of them pretty easily yesterday. Put some heat on Mac Jones. Tyreek Hill looked good in his debut as a Dolphin. So, fun times down there in Miami, at least for yesterday.
Yeah, defense was fantastic. Offense was opportunistic. Tua Tagovailoa became the first quarterback in NFL history to win 4 straight games against Bill Belichick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good stat to hang your hat on.
There's only one other guy who's 4-0, so technically Elway did it too. That was where the confusing part was, because John Elway was also 4-0 against Bill Belichick. It was the first time a New England Patriots coached Bill Belichick team had lost 4 straight games to the same quarterback. There it is. But, I like the Dolphins being on there. Looked pretty good yesterday. I was pretty happy. One of my winners, Minnesota Vikings, demolished the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers looked terrible. You know, Rodgers has whined and complained about having all these young receivers. Well, Rodgers didn't show up to OTAs or anything to work with these guys. He showed up at training camp. So it's on Rodgers as well, why he doesn't have chemistry with these guys. The guy doesn't want to do the work in the offseason, then he has no room to complain.
The Vikings were my 3rd winner. Cousins looked good yesterday. Jefferson looked awesome. Yeah, they put a stomping on the Packers. I'm not used to somebody doing that to the Packers very often.
No. My last winner is the LA Chargers, taking care of business against the Raiders. Herbert looked great. That division's pretty dang good.
Xander Horvath scoring a touchdown yesterday. Purdue's own 7th-round pick.
Really? He's in the NFL.
He made the team, got drafted 7th round, made the team, and he caught the first touchdown of the year from Herbert. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Wow.
Walk on to NFL. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Losers.
Green Bay Packers. I don't know what else there is more to say than what you said about them. So,
yeah. The AFC South as a whole, terrible day. The Colts playing the worst team in football tie, and really they were lucky to tie. Titans losing at home to the Giants. Jaguars blowing a lead and losing to the Commanders. On paper, it's probably the worst division in football, and yesterday did nothing to change my mind of thinking that.
That's a good one. I didn't have any of the South down, but I should have. That's a good one. I had the San Francisco 49ers. Team I hype up every year, and I thought they would smack the Bears, and it was a miserable weather day, but good win for the Bears. Did not see that coming. They dominated the 4th quarter.
Justin Fields was bad, but Trey Lance was worse, which is not a good sign for the 49ers at all. One of my losers is the NFC West. I have another division on there. Rams get shellacked in their first game since the Super Bowl. Cardinals get whooped by the Chiefs. and then the 49ers going to a bad Bears team and losing. Now it's up to the Seahawks to win tonight, and that's not going to happen. Don't
put that voodoo on me.
Day for the NFC West. Actually, this will be the J-Man's book of prediction of the week.
Crud.
Russell Wilson gets his revenge on the Seattle Seahawks and goes in there and beats them pretty handily. So.
He will get booed heavily, I think, tonight.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
He probably will. There's been a lot of stuff that have come out about how Wilson was not very happy there towards the end of his tenure in Seattle. But J-Man's Book of Prediction Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watchering for life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis 219-869-4561.
The reason I think he'll get booed is he was part of a video tribute for Sue Bird, who retired from the Seattle Storm, and the crowd at the game booed him when he came on the TV. So if he's getting booed there, he's going to get booed tonight. So
yeah, he's going to get booed in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. My last loser is the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow was hit more than any quarterback in the NFL last year. They thought they were going to go and change that, get him some offensive line help. Bengals gave up 7 sacks. They turned it over 5 times, missed an extra point, a chip shot field goal. Should have won that game, and they lost the division. Still, missed it. And their long snapper got hurt too. So there were some bad snaps, but yeah, it was blocked. Then he missed a chip shot, but losing a divisional game to a Pittsburgh Steelers team at home, for one, that you shouldn't lose to is a pretty bad way to start.
Yeah, I could have easily had the Steelers as one of my winners. That was a good win for them. My last loser, though, is the Dallas Cowboys. Dak's hurt for 6 to 8 weeks with throwing his thumb. But even before then, that offense looked abysmal last night, and he is the main focus of that offense. The Cowboys stink. They stink every year. The media hypes them up. I'm already tired of it. Skip Bayless said that Cooper Rush is almost as good as Dak today and more reliable.
I saw that today.
So he can take his bag and walk. If I'm Dallas, I'd get on the phone with San Fran and see what it takes to get Jimmy G before their season's down to tubes.
Yeah. Because it could go down to the tubes quickly because the Eagles look pretty dang good.
Yes. They were also playing the Lions,
yesterday.
but yes, they did.
But offensively they look good. Defensively did not, obviously. But, it could be a long season there in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's go through and pick some games here real quick. I won the belt.
Easily.
I have easily, yeah. I've won back-to-back years the belt for the season, but it always feels pretty dang good, I will say. And you know what? I'm going to make it 2 straight weeks here, starting with Chargers at Kansas City. That's a pretty dang good Thursday night on Amazon Prime opener.
Yeah, it is. I don't like either one of these teams. I think they're both very good teams, though. I just think Kansas City's that much better. Give me the Chiefs for 7.
I have the Chiefs for 6 for those exact same reasons. I just think they're too good. The New York Football Jets at the Cleveland Browns, who found a way to beat Baker.
Yeah, they found a way. Jets are awful. I don't think the Browns are much better, but the Jets are awful. Give me the Browns for 10.
Wow. I have the Browns for 7. Joe Flacco's terrible. He's terrible.
He's old. He needs to
Zach
retire.
Wilson won't be back until week 5, I think, at the earliest. So it's going to be a rough few weeks here for the Jets. Give me the Browns for 7. Washington Commanders at the Detroit Lions.
2 teams I don't think that are very good, but I think Washington's better. Give me Washington on the road for 3.
I have Detroit for 2. Like the way Detroit's offense looked for the most part yesterday. They just need to get some stops, and I think they can do that against the Commanders. Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Nolans, who, found a way to beat a terrible Falcons team yesterday.
Yeah, they escaped with the W. Tampa Bay did a bad job closing drives last night, but I thought their defense played well. Give me Tampa Bay for 9.
I have Tampa Bay for 11. They're quite a bit better than New Orleans. Carolina at the Giants.
Giants found a way to win, like you mentioned earlier, against Tennessee. I think they keep it going. Give me the Giants for 4.
I have the Giants for 1. Saquon had the best game maybe of his career, 150 yards rushing. The Brian Daboll effect. New England at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, tough one to predict, but I'm going with home field advantage. Tough. Give me the Steelers for 5.
I have the Steelers for 8. New England's offense is bad. I do not think Mac Jones is a very good quarterback. I think he'll fizzle out there within a year or two in New England. They crowned him the heir apparent and the superstar because they had a good 6 or 7 game stretch last year, but the way he ended the season, the way he started this season, is not looking good for him. Pittsburgh for 8. Indianapolis at Jacksonville.
Indianapolis got to get this one. I mean, they ended the year sorely against Jacksonville last year. Didn't look good yesterday, at least for most of the game. They woke up in the fourth quarter, but it was almost too late. I think Indianapolis gets it done. Give me the Colts for 6.
Yeah, Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in a long time, but I think they get it done. Indianapolis for 10. Miami at Baltimore.
Tough matchup for the Dolphins. I went back and forth on this one. I'm taking the Ravens, but only for 2. I think it's a really good game.
Dolphins handled Baltimore on a Thursday night last year. Baltimore's going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Lamar Jackson was really frustrated. I think it'll be a fairly close game, but I'm taking Baltimore for 4. Falcons at the LA Rams.
Give me the Rams for 16. Next.
Rams for 16 as well. Seattle at San Francisco.
It's hard to predict when you haven't watched one of these teams play yet.
Right.
But I just think San Fran doesn't embarrass themselves 2 weeks in a row. Give me San Fran for 11.
Mm-hmm. I have San Francisco for 12. Cincinnati at Dallas.
Cooper Rush, don't believe in him. Cincinnati's got to come out and make a statement. Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals for 15.
I have the Bengals for 9. I actually had Dallas for 9 before Dak got hurt, and I just switched my pick now to Cincinnati for 9. Houston at Denver.
Once again, hard to predict when you haven't seen one of these teams play, but I don't think Houston's very good anyways. Give me the Broncos for 14.
I have Denver for 13. Arizona at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Raiders need this one. Can't afford to go 0-2. McDaniels needs a win, and he needs to boost up his head coaching career record. Give me the Raiders for 8.
I have the Raiders for 5. Chicago at Green Bay.
Chicago's 1-0. Green Bay's 0-1. Maybe if it's now or never for the Bears to get them, just don't think it happens. It's kind of like Purdue beating Wisconsin. I have to believe it, or I have to see it to believe it. Give me the Packers for 13.
One game doesn't change my mind on either of these teams. Give me the Packers for 15. Tennessee at Buffalo.
No Music City Miracle this week. Give me the Bills for 12.
I have the Bills for 14. Last one, the Monday night game, Minnesota at Philadelphia.
Should be a great one. Give me the Eagles for 1.
I have the Eagles for 3. So I think it'll be a very good game. Birdie Bogey here before we go. Tyreek Hill needs 7 touchdowns to become just the second wide receiver ever to have at least 7 touchdowns in each of his first 7 seasons. Who is that wide receiver?
Man, I want to say Jerry Rice, but I don't think it is. And if it's going to be Jerry Rice, I'm going to be so mad because I'm not saying Jerry Rice. 7 seasons. Oh, I don't know if this guy did it. Oh, he did the first few years, but then I'm not sure after that. Marvin Harrison?
Oh, man, so close. Randy Moss.
He was honest to God. Honest to God, I was going to go Moss the whole time. And then in my head, I'm like, towards the end of that 7th season, I think he was playing somewhere else or close to it. Marvin was so consistent. Gosh,
he was.
Dang it. 3 down. Oh,
3 down.
More frustrating ones.
Thanks for watching the Tan and J-Man show. You got to watch some anger flow from Tanner today.
Yep.
There when you missed the.
Hopefully the anger's done. Hopefully it's all good things tonight.
We'll see.
I'm ready to ride, J-Man. I'm ready to ride.
Got about 4 hours till we truly know how that anger's going to subside or not. But thanks for watching Tan and J-Man show live on the ISC Sports Network. We'll be back at it next time for another episode. Have a fantastic week, everybody.